What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another show. Today is April 8th, 2025, and we're going to be talking about that crash that happened over the weekend, Monday morning, okay, where the stock market, S&P 500, and Bitcoin were down. However, it has bounced back quite a bit. We're going to take a look at this bounce and see if there is another crash in store. As I have been seeing in my YouTube feed, a lot of YouTubers are actually talking about a Black Monday. However, yesterday we've actually had quite a bit of a bounce in the S&P and Bitcoin, okay? And they're highly correlated most of the time. So let's see what is happening with these two markets and of course how that could be impacting the rest of the crypto markets because the rest of the crypto markets is impacted by Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin here, been talking about this support here for quite some time. The weekly 50 SMA at about 76, 77,000. Price action did come down to about 74,000 because sometimes panic could set in and it could breach support or a target, right? Same thing with the other way around. If FOMO kicks in, it could definitely shoot past its target. So the target is really just an estimate, but it's still a very useful estimate because you can at least get some type of idea of where to open and close positions, especially if you're trading frequently like me. Okay. Now we are on the weekly 50 SMA, which is the gray line here, at about 76, 77,000, and we are basically getting a pretty good support there right now. Let's take a look into let's zoom in into a shorter time frame here, 3 day time frame, where I have talked about a double bottom here on the 3 day time frame. Still valid, okay? That is a reversal pattern. Now, a double bottom here, this also has bullish divergence on the RSI where you're getting an equal or lower low on the price action chart, but you're also getting an equal or higher low. In this case, would be a higher low on the RSI. Very important and simple indicator to be paying attention to that will give you a pretty good idea of a reversal. Okay. Now, how far this reversal or bounce goes, that is yet to be seen, and we really have to pay attention to the shorter time frame to get more of a clue on how far this reversal goes, right? Because it could get a short bounce, which could be very different from a longer bounce, right? And I'll talk about that in just a minute, okay? Now let's come down to daily time frame here, where we also got a double bottom, right? A double bottom kind of shape, right? With bullish divergence, and we have, we've had quite a bit of oversold bounces here on the daily time frame, okay? However, what I'm really looking at here on the daily time frame is that since yesterday's bounce, it wasn't that strong of a bounce on the RSI, okay? We see that, it was a little bit of a bounce on the RSI. It's very important to be paying attention to RSI as well for this matter because you want to gauge the strength of the bounce. If you get a pretty strong bounce at the RSI, and if the next move on the price action chart is to make a equal or lower low, then chances are you're going to get another bounce. However, if you get a weak bounce on the RSI, in this case, it's not a strong bounce in my opinion, and my opinion only. Okay, so it could be invalidated. This bullish divergence could be invalidated, and that is not good. Because if you were to get a equal or lower low on the price action chart, that could basically invalidate this bullish divergence scenario and it could continue down further on the RSI. And that is not what you will want to see on as a bull. Okay, so daily time frame, very important to be paying attention to. It is trying to reclaim that 80,000 level, which was the range I've been talking about. That was very important, right? We've been holding that level last week and for quite some time, as you guys can see on this chart here, and we broke down from it, and so we really have to reclaim that level. And right now it is resistance. Okay, So I also brought up that a possible falling wedge pattern could be developing here, right? Not yet completely developed, but if this double bottom breaks, then that is, I have charted a possible falling wedge pattern, and the bottom trend line here could be where a possible crash could happen and dip down to, right? Which would give us a range of about back in about 70,000, the low 70,000s, right? Which was the resistance for quite some time last year, 2024. Remember, if you guys were in the market last year, right? And we have been trying to break that 70,000 level. Well, right now it's gonna be support. Okay, it makes sense that this is support, and it has been the resistance for a year almost last year. Okay, so that is basically what I'm looking at. About 71,000. If this double bottom does not hold, and because we have a possible falling wedge pattern that could be developing as well. So that is basically what I'm looking at. We have quite a bit of overhead resistance at the top trend line, as you guys can see, which is, all your daily moving averages. You have your 3-day 21 coming basically parallel with the top trend line of this pattern. And you do have your weekly 21 SMA above the pattern as well. So we have quite a bit of resistance to get over, okay, in order to get back to about 110,000 there, the all-time high, right? So that's basically what I'm looking at. Very important to be paying attention to the daily time frame because of what I just mentioned. Let's take a look into even the shorter time frame here on the 6 hour, where this could potentially still be a higher low since the bounce we had yesterday. Okay, potentially, or it could still come down for a double bottom. Okay, now this is a strong bounce. Okay, on the 6 hour time frame, as you guys can see, because on the RSI we had a very strong bounce here, right, since the bottom, and that's what I would like to see. But this is on a shorter time frame. Okay, it would be nice to actually see this on the daily time frame, but at least on the 6 hour time frame, we still have this, and until this is invalidated, um, then we could still see some short-term bounces here. In my opinion, not financial advice, right? You guys gotta do your own logic and research. Don't just follow me on the internet, right? So that's basically what I'm seeing here. And let's take a look into the stock market, doing completely something different today. And they have been doing different things. Okay, last week stock market was crashing, but Bitcoin held. Right now, stock market is bouncing back, but Bitcoin hasn't really yet. Okay, now let's take a look at the S&P 500. I'm looking at the futures, which is ES1 exclamation mark, at some very important levels here. I mentioned this yesterday, which is basically 4,800. This is important because this pattern has been forming since about, the previous breakout here has been forming since about December 2021, and then it broke out of it in about January 2024. Okay, so 4,800. Okay, and basically we're retesting this breakout point at 4,800. Okay, this cup and handle. You guys will see this if you guys look into your weekly chart, ES1 exclamation mark. Okay, so very important chart to be paying attention to as well, because it could give us a front running indicator for what Bitcoin is about to do, because they have very high correlation most of the time, right? So this is what I'm looking at. Could this go down further? Of course it can. Then the next level of key support will be about 4,700, which is the weekly 200 SMA, which has been a very important support, right, for COVID, right? If you guys remember that crash for about late 2022 as well. So, all right, this basically wraps it up for today's update. Make sure you guys are liked, subscribed, and don't miss any important updates coming from me, which will be coming daily. See you guys next time.